Welcome back, Syracuse Math Kitties. In this video, we are looking at lesson 5 in your math packet for module 4. This lesson is dealing with negative exponents, and this is something that we went over in the last week before the school closed. So I am actually gonna fly through this lesson. I know I keep saying that, but let's see, maybe it actually happens. Last video was supposed to be 5 minutes or around 5 minutes. It ended up being 10. So it might be that I'm not able to make short videos. All right, forgive me for that. All right, so let's look at this. When the power includes a negative exponent, express the number as 1 divided by the base and change the exponent to a positive number. So here is an example of that. If you have a base of 4 raised to a negative exponent or negative 2, you are going to flip. You're going to do 1 divided by the base to that exponent, but you're going to make the exponent positive, right? So the 4 to the negative second power is changed into 1 divided by 4 to the second power, positive, right? And then we just basically calculate. So that ends up being 1 divided by 16, because 1 divided by 4 to the second power is same as 1 divided by 4 times 1 divided by 4. And 4 times 4 is 60. All right, and here is that rule. This is what you're going to need to be familiar with. I think this is pretty straightforward. We have gone through a few of these, and actually I believe your module 2 packet, which was the paper packet that was included in your red, yellow, green folders. I'm not sure which color you guys got, but you had a packet that pretty much dealt with mostly negative exponents. So this should be actually a kind of a review for you. All right, but here's the general rule. You have the base raised to a negative power, and basically you're going to change this negative power into a positive by taking 1 and dividing it by the base, and then making the power into a positive number. So let's keep that in mind, and we're gonna take a look at a few of these right here. I'm just gonna kind of go random, right? Number 1 says write with single exponent. For example, 1 divided by 10 times 1 divided by 10 is equal to 10 to the negative second power. So they're asking you to kind of go reverse. So you start out with, let's look at these guys right here. So you have 1 divided by 10 times 1 divided by 10 times 1 divided by 10. Essentially, you are multiplying the 1 divided by 10 by itself 3 times, which basically means that 1 divided by 10 is your base, right? So in other words, that would mean that 1 divided by 10 to the third power. And even 1, you can even put 1 to the third power, but we know that 1 times 1 times 1 is always 1. So it's really not necessary, but if you want to see how things are broken down, you can definitely do that, right? So 1 divided by 10 to the third power, all right? You have, you have 2 exponents here, the top and the bottom, so you're just going to move the 10 to the top, right? We know that 1 to the third power is 1, so this becomes 10 to the negative third power. Okay, so then do that with the rest of these. I think that's self-explanatory. In number 2, it says write each expression as a single power of 10. Okay, so now you're going the other way around. In this problem above, you have bases multiplied a certain number of times, and you're being asked to write them in this format. Here, you actually have powers of 10 with a negative exponent, and you're asked to write it as a single power of 10. In some of these, you're going to use this last rule, this one right here that's dealing with negative exponents, and some of them you're actually going to incorporate some of your previous rules, right? So for example, this one here, we are multiplying 2 powers of 10 with negative exponents. So there's two things going on here. You have a negative exponent, but you also have 2 powers of 10, and the problem is asking you to write it as a single power of 10. We know from, I believe it is rule number 1. Let me see here. Yes, in rule number 1, we know that when we are multiplying 2 powers of 10, we're going to add those exponents. Okay, so here, same thing, you're multiplying 2 powers of 10. Okay, so we're not going to get flustered with the fact that we have 2 negative numbers, because we know what to do with that. All right, because our rule is 10 to the nth power times 10 to the mth power is equal to 10 to the n plus m, right? We don't care that these are negative numbers. We know that this is going to be 10 to the negative 3 plus negative 2, right? And we know that negative 3 plus negative 2, hold up, plus negative 2 is like negative 3 minus 2, which is negative 5, okay? So this is 10 to the negative 5. If we wanted to take it, so that's from rule number 1, right? Rule number 1. Okay, and then from our rule number, what is this rule? Rule number 4, if we wanted to clean this up and make it into a positive exponent, we're just going to go 1 divided by 10 to the 5th power, and there is our positive exponent. Okay, then in this one right here, you are raising a power of 10 to another power. Which rule is that? So let's go back and look at that rule. Okay, we are actually going to multiply those exponents. So rule number 2, when you have 10 to the n and then raise that power to m, you're going to actually multiply the 2 exponents. So let's do that in this example here. So we end up having, so the rule number, I forget what's the rule number. Hold on, it's a rule number 2. Okay, so rule number 2. Okay, rule number 2, let me write it in different colors. So rule number 2 is when you have 10 to the m, or 10 to the n raised to the m, that's same as 10 to the n times m, right? So here, we're going to say this is 10 to the negative 4 times 5, which is same as or equal to 10 to the negative 20. And if we want to take it all the way to the end, we're going to say that that's 1 divided by 10 to the 20th power. Okay, so we basically used 2 different rules here. We used rule number 2, and we used rule number 4. These are all properties of exponents, so you're going to have to keep them in mind, you know, when you're working through these. If you're not really sure what you need to do, okay, take it 1 step at a time. You saw what I did here. I first applied my rule number 2 because I know that when I'm raising a power of 10 to another power, I know that I'm going to multiply those exponents. And then because I ended up with a negative exponent, I took 1 and divided it by that power of 10 and change the sign of the exponent. So go ahead, take a shot at these guys right here. And if you have questions, definitely reach out to me or Miss Piraino. It is our pleasure to assist you guys anytime. Other than that, you guys, we have 2 more videos, and I'm going to try to maybe make these over the weekend, and that will conclude our module 4. So you guys have roughly like 2 more weeks of school, and you can, you know, go through the old videos, and there's like more than 35 on there now on the YouTube channel SyracuseMathKitty, and you know, just watch the videos. You know, you can skip through if it's too long, And, you know, or you can just go ahead and try doing these on your own and then watch the videos for the lessons that are more difficult for you. So anyways, take care of yourself. Until next time, bye.